Mouin Rabbani is the co-editor of Jadaliyya, an online magazine specialising in contemporary Middle East news. He joins me now via Skype from New York. Good to have you with us on the programme. Should we be worried with this escalation of violence?
I think we should always be worried by escalations of violence, and I also think we should be at least as worried, if not more so, by the ongoing blockade of the Gaza Strip, which is now almost a decade and a half old, which of course is taking place within the context of more than half a century of Israeli occupation of the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. I think the subtext here is that what Israel is seeking to do is to divide and isolate the two main factions in the Gaza Strip, Hamas and Islamic Jihad, from each other. And just as it sought to subcontract the security of the occupation in the context of the Oslo agreements to the Palestinian Authority, it's now seeking to subcontract the security of the Gaza Strip to Hamas and to make Hamas responsible for suppressing Islamic Jihad in the Gaza Strip. And that explains, I think. Please, go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was only going to add to that. Then does that make the fact that Israel is targeting locations beyond Gaza and beyond the borders of Israel a good strategy?
Well, I think what Israel is seeking to do is to launch attacks specifically against Islamic Jihad today in both the Gaza Strip and Syria, as your correspondent mentioned, and to kind of demonstrate to the world, first and foremost to the Palestinians, that Hamas itself is not getting involved. As you know, it recently emerged in the Israeli press that the leaders of the Mossad and the Israeli military have been imploring Qatar to continue its financial aid to the Gaza Strip, because on the one hand, it's holding out this prospect of a ceasefire agreement with Hamas, kind of keeping this dangling in front of the rulers of the Gaza Strip, while at the same time using the prospect of such an agreement to keep hitting other Palestinian factions in the Gaza Strip in a way that ensures that Hamas itself does not join the fray. And so in that context, getting back to your original question, I suspect that the prospect for further escalation, at least at this stage, is probably quite limited. Also because there's, of course, the approaching Israeli elections, and the Israeli leadership itself will see little benefit in a sudden escalation of hostilities between Israel and the Gaza Strip at this particular time.
So just briefly then, the policy then of retaining Palestinian bodies as they were in this particular case, when the body that we're talking about was scooped up by a dumper truck and taken back into, you might say, Israeli territory, is being used potentially as a negotiating chip in the future. It's very much what Palestinian factions have done themselves by holding on to Israeli bodies as bargaining chips for prisoner exchanges. Do you think Israel's changing its tactics now?
Well, you could raise that general point, except in this particularly macabre incident, you had an Israeli bulldozer going into Palestinian territory and effectively kidnapping the body of a slain Palestinian and bringing him back into Israeli territory, and in the process wounding several Palestinians who were seeking to recover that body. And so, you know, also the way it was done, and it was broadcast live on TV, appalled even many Israelis at the particularly macabre way of its execution. And I think this is kind of par for the course, where Israel makes very public displays of its thorough contempt for Palestinian life and Palestinian death in this case, and also does so with the intention of showing the Palestinians that the world will sit idly by as it engages in such conduct.
Well, for the moment, thanks very much for your insight. Mouin Rabbani there joining us from New York. Thank you.